Okay, now may I present Mr. Bollinger, who is doing the first part of this project is high performance leadership. Mr. Bollinger.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. If you recall, I gave everyone I sent out 3 workbooks throughout the club, and I asked everyone to read the first couple of pages. Now I'd like to split up everyone into a couple of groups here. I'd like Drew and Mike come over here, sit near Brad. If I could get the 3 workbooks. 1, 2, 3. Now, it was just an introduction to the project to kind of get you to understand what we're doing here. And I'd like a few reporters, secretaries of the sorts. I'll have Tony, Corey, and Max. If Drew and Mike could come up and sit by Brad over here. I'll have the 3 of you work with Tony and Kyle. So Mike, Drew, please sit up here, somewhere near Brad. And turn around, work with Kyle and Tony. Mark, turn around, work with those guys. You don't have to physically turn around, but eventually, if you have something to add, you'll want to tell Matt, because he'll be recording it. Now, if you flip over to, whatever, page 4, whatever, where there's a group of suggested questions or things to think about while giving the presentation, if you switch to there, that's where I'd like you to record any questions that anybody in your group asks. You don't actually have to talk about the questions you're going to ask. But if you do have a question, raise your hand and I'll answer it. And if somebody in your group asks that question, Mr. Recorder of your particular group, please write that question down. You don't really have to work together. But that's what I'd like. And with that said, I'll be going with my presentation here. Today, I'd like to give a little bit of background on the High Performance Leadership Project. We're going to talk about leadership theory, my self-study progress based on the project, my quiz results, I was quizzed, exercise results, I was given an exercise, I'll go over my results, and possible HPL leadership projects. So what is the high performance leadership? This is the last component I have to get my distinguished Toastmaster. If you notice, Alex had mentioned that this was the last presentation he gave. Well, I gave my last presentation like a year and a half ago or something like that, and I've had a few things that I've needed to get done. Things like being area director, got that done a few years ago, and I need to finish my high performance leadership. It's a long-term leadership-based project. You could do something that's club-based, which is what I'm choosing to do, something beyond the club, like area, division, or district-based, or something that is based on maybe your work. You're trying to become a better leader, maybe something you can do within your career. But it's tough to get going. People don't seem to engage to help out with the committee. I say, hey, let's do a high performance leadership project. They say, great, that's awesome. And I get the right people and they say, I'm totally going to help. And I'm like, great, when should we meet? And they're like, and it's super easy. It's literally what we're doing right now. It's just, I talk to you guys, you ask questions and give me a little feedback. Not that hard. But for some reason, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm busy like always. I don't have 5 minutes for you. All right, whatever. So I'm just going to jam it into regular club meetings, and you're just going to do it because I'm tired of it. I'm getting a little frustrated, so I'm just going to make you guys do it for me. All right, leadership theory. In my much larger packet that I've been thumbing through for some time now, and obviously I tried to get this going a couple of years ago, and then earlier this year, and now I'm doing it again. So I've gone through this multiple times, and I know this very well. But in this, there were 6 dimensions of service leadership, because the whole point is to become a better leader. And within them, we have, let's see here, 6 dimensions of service leadership. I'm just going to go over the basic definition without going through the thoroughness of it. Vision and values says good leaders imagine or envision what they would like to have happen, understand what is happening now, and decide what needs to be done to make their vision become reality. They convey their vision to their team, those who will be helping them. I'd like to enlist the entirety of you. Direction. Leaders help people accomplish tasks necessary to turn the vision into a reality. Notice it says they don't do everything. If a leader had to do everything, what would be the point of everybody else on the team? And also everything would fail because that's too much to put on one person. A leader is really helping people accomplish things. In fact, we talked about that with that agile exercise this morning, where I had said, I'm going to remove obstacles as Scrum Master to make sure that you can do your job effectively. Leaders set goals, establish priorities, and delegate responsibility as necessary. Direction. Persuasion. Leaders also persuade others to see, understand, and believe in their vision. So we're trying to make sure that you understand why I feel that a particular thing is valuable, and I want to make sure that you buy into it. I honestly think this is kind of an issue for me, being able to truly persuade people. I feel like I can get people to kind of get off the couch, but not actually try real hard. Now, of course, getting off the couch is a big deal, in my opinion, but getting them to actually try and perform their best and become who they can be, I'm not very good at that, to be honest. Support. Leaders make sure everyone functions well as a team, is equipped with the necessary resources to accomplish tasks, and has effective systems and methods to work productively. In fact, I think that's kind of at the crux of what my idea of what my high performance leadership project is going to be. I want to make sure that people have the proper support to get things done, as opposed to what we have now, which I feel is a little inadequate in that regard. Development. Team members will be more willing to help if they personally benefit from doing so. Leaders are aware of the personal needs and goals of team members and provide opportunities to fill these needs and goals. How will being part of this and how will this executing this project help you? I need to make sure you understand that, and of course, guide the project around that so that you're actually interested in it. Appreciation, another issue I think I have. Psychologist William James said the deepest craving in human beings is the need to be appreciated. Everyone, no matter how sophisticated, educated, or mature, wants respect and recognition. I kind of feel like I don't need that. And so therefore, I don't feel like I give that enough. So I think I need to work on that. Kinds of authority, formal and earned. Formal authority would be someone with a particular title or someone who has a position where you say to yourself, I need to look up to this person and give them authority because of who they are, what position they have. For example, the president, whether it's of the country or of your company, something like that, or your boss. Who is your direct supervisor? Who is the person to whom you report? You are supposed to give them that kind of authority because they're in that position. You assume that they were given that position because they have already earned that authority and they deserve it. Earned authority is someone who doesn't actually have any kind of label or position, title, anything like that. It's someone you earn, whose trust and authority is earned by you. Someone like Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't have any title as the leader of the civil rights movement. There was never a formal organization that he was named the head of, that everybody just said, you know, this guy has really earned our respect and the authority that he has. Or maybe a good friend. When you think to yourself, I've known this person for 15 years, 30 years, whatever, and I know them to be a really good authority on this particular subject matter. You're going to turn to them for advice on a particular thing, right? Different kinds of authority. Self-study progress. I've read through most of this before, so while I've done it and I've gone back and I've done it again and again, I feel that I'm pretty darn well situated in the high performance leadership project. I've tried to start the HPL twice previously, and again, once in the club where a handful of people said, yeah, sure, I'm totally on board. And then I said, hey, when can we meet? And they're like, a bunch of crickets, and nobody responded. Then I tried doing it at more of a district level, and I said, hey, we as a team have a particular goal. Let's get together and get it done. And they're like, yes, great, awesome. Like, hey, when can we meet? Crickets. Our issues with PR are common to Toastmasters Club. I've been bringing that up. I'm like, you know, every time, like most VP of PR roles, like the person never does anything. And the number one reason why is because they don't know what to do and they're afraid to ask. So I want to make sure that we can kind of empower our vice president of public relations and other positions accordingly to make sure that our PR are actually truly valuable and we get the most out of what we do. It seemed like the perfect storm to put these objectives together into an HPL. So I took a quiz. At the end of this, I read through all this stuff and everything, many, many pages, and it says, name from memory the 6 key dimensions of service leadership. The ones I mentioned, all 6 of them that I went over for a couple minutes. Who here can do that? So I kind of balked at that one, just like you probably are, and then I reread the entirety of the first part so I can make sure that I can really remember all that. So then, I got all the questions correct. Not only naming those 6 dimensions, but then a whole bunch of different things, like what are the 2 kinds of authority that we just went over? Anybody?
Formal and earned.
Formal and earned, very good, very good. Things like that. I'm not gonna go over the rest of the questions, but a whole bunch of other questions based on the more in-depth explanation of what those are. And again, I did well after I realized I was gonna do poorly, and then reread everything, made sure I remembered specific things so I'd be able to answer all those questions. Now, then I had an exercise where I was supposed to assess my current leadership skills and answer a whole bunch of things like I clearly visualize what my team should accomplish. And I gave myself a ranking 1 through 5. And after I went through a whole bunch of items in a particular category, which are the 6 dimensions I went over earlier, then I plotted each of them out on a spider graph. And this is how I scored. You notice, I personally felt that I was better on development, more vision and values, and much worse at things like appreciation. I felt that maybe persuasion was asking me questions that I gave myself better answers on, but maybe it wasn't testing me enough because I don't know if I persuade as well as I'd like. But that's how things ended up. And that's a good guide for me to understand where I need to improve as a leader. And I agree with it, except that I don't think I'm that good at persuading people. It is definitely something that I try for and something that I've been focusing on, but I don't think I'm quite there based on end results. Now, the last thing we want to discuss here is possible leadership projects. You could have 1, or I could bring up 47. It doesn't really matter exactly how many I might bring up, depending on how many ideas I have and how much time I have. Now, this came from frustrations with not having any direction in the VPPR space. Even when I said things like, hey, Mr. VPPR, most VPPRs never do anything. Could you make sure you do something this year? Well, that's not very good guidance. And I don't have enough time to just stop and do all that. So I have to kind of give myself an extra motivation, like I have for the leadership project. Immediate past president. I've honestly never seen a club truly utilize this role. And I noticed when reading through Toastmasters documentation, the immediate past president is supposed to be heavily invested in vice president of public relations type things. So working together as a team, that would be a lot more valuable. So the idea of codifying what the IPP is and how they can help in our outreach would be a very valuable portion of the high performance leadership project. What truly are the vice president of public relationship responsibilities, not only for Toastmasters in general, but for Techmasters as a club, making sure they're codified, and team man difficulties. Techmasters After Dark, we put in a lot of effort. Sometimes we get a couple dozen people showing up. Sometimes we get only a handful of people showing up, most of whom are club members, such as with parliamentary procedure in action. Now, I understand parliamentary procedure doesn't sound like the most riveting thing ever, but I made it as fun as I could, and I felt that it was extremely valuable, not only for our club members, but anybody who was interested. So this is the only project I had in mind, and I couldn't come up with any other alternatives that would be anywhere near on par. So I don't really want to have anybody choose something else that was half baked. So what I came up with was build a comprehensive public relations program to utilize the vice president of public relations role and better serve the club and its members. Define the VPPR role and responsibilities, devise frameworks for success for membership drives, team outreach, etc. Incorporate the immediate past president role, which is often ignored in clubs, as well as properly defining the IPP role in the Techmasters Club. That's what I got. With that, hopefully I have answered. I made sure there were some sample questions that you might ask if you couldn't think of anything. I answered them. So hopefully you don't have any questions. But if you do have any questions on HPL or the project in question, I'll be here to see. Please let me know right now. And again, the people who are taking notes, please make sure that you actually write down any questions people ask or in your group. Does anybody have any questions? I'll start with Mark.
Just briefly, having some familiarity with these types of programs, your goal, even though it's singular, seems extremely broad. So do you have sub-goals, or how do you intend on breaking those down?
Okay. So the idea is, it's a broad goal. How am I going to break this down? I try to set it into somewhat derivative ideas here. Basically, try to have a comprehensive PR program so that we can make it, the basic idea is to make it easy to walk into these kind of membership drafts and Toastmasters After Dark, where we're not trying to kind of fumbling around and finding out who's going to do what. So we have well-defined roles, and breaking it down, as of right now, it's not that well broken down, but that's going to be early on, like a very, very early on first step. Let's organize what kind of stuff I sent in. So it's a very important question, but at the end of the day, I don't have quite all those yet. I listed kind of the 30,000 foot view with a kind of three-pronged approach, but there may be sub-prongs within that. Corey had to stand up first.
So with that in mind,
Sure,
my
write
question
that
is
down.
very much related,
Lauren, yeah.
is do you have some sort of a timeline then on how long you think it will take to build such a comprehensive?
Yeah, so you want to know about timeline. Well, I have a deadline, which is June 30th of 2020, which is when the program switches over, and then I can't get my DTM on the old program. So that's a deadline. But the timeline would be definitely before then, but I would say probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 months. Right?
I'll state my assumption and then the question. The assumption is that you have a project you need to do. This is an actual thing that you're actually going to get credit for that will give you your DTM. The question is, what is when I put together a conference talk, I have a title, an abstract, and I have learning objectives. And what I see here are learning objectives, the three things that are the takeaways of what you're going to do. What is the title of your project?
Good question. What's the title?
If this was a speak at a conference, what would be the title of your project?
Good question. If I had to title this, I'd probably take a few stabs at it, but it would start with defining Toastmasters PR program.
Perfect.
I hate to be rude, we really got to get moving.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's why I try to answer all the questions. All right. Finishing off here, it looks like we're done with questions here, and our Toastmaster has a tough duty to tighten things up to finish on time. So I'll turn things over to the Toastmaster. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so let's briefly carry on, and I will introduce, generally